Greetings, everybody. This is Sri Srinivasa. It's a great pleasure and honor to welcome you all to yet another episode of Leadership Series, Management, Career Growth, and Mentoring, Coaching. You name it, we have it. We bring the right people to this forum, this idea information exchange, and serve the community. So this is Sri Srinivasa. On behalf of itsdiff Academy, we welcome you all to yet another episode of this series here. It's a great pleasure and honor we have with us today Coach Jay Kumar Hariharan. So let me just extend a warm welcome to Jay. Welcome, Jay, to our program. Okay,
Shay, thank you so much for having me on air. It's a pleasure.
pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Of course, a conversation with you at any time is warm. So I
And
look forward to a stimulating conversation.
Of course, and it's so simple. I mean, when I first got to know you through the Rewire book, and first of all, you are an award-winning author. Congratulations on your book on Rewire. So that really
Thank you
got
so
us
much.
our introduction. So just before we get started, I just wanted to let our listeners know about Coach Jay. So he's an executive coach. He's a professional speaker, mentor, guide. He's a personal branding expert, and he worked in the brand and media field about 2 decades now, and one who can help in personal growth. And mostly he's associated with CEO and CXOs, all types of senior executive C-level people who matters a lot in taking a company, an innovative company, in its various life cycle, from the innovation stage to the I would say the crawling, and the growth stage, the maturity stage, and whatnot, to be a leader in the environment, in the external world. So the interesting thing here is, Jay has been not just person. I know it. I know all of it. I will let you know. I mean, he's a person whom I've seen in it through his writings and some of his interviews, that he's a person who wants to walk with you. So, Jay, I like that simplicity. Simplicity. First of all, thank you very much for being there. So that gives me a confidence. Hey, he's one person that whom I can talk to and ask a few questions. So we have
Thank you so
lots
much.
of questions. We have lots of questions for you, and we just wanted to
Always
know you. Okay.
excellent.
Yeah.
Always happy to be there.
Sure, sure. So one thing, why don't we start with this and say one thing in your writings and in your speaking assignments, I always see like you will help one to find themselves. So the question that I was asking myself is, have I ever lost anywhere? I'm not falling in love with anyone, and first of all, I don't even know I've lost myself. So tell me, how do I even find out that I'm lost?
Starting off with a very philosophical segue. This idea of finding oneself, or the idea of getting in touch with who you are really as a person, and how you manifest as an experience to all your stakeholders, is a lifelong journey. Truly, when you get the answer to who are you, you're the enlightened one. You're the Buddha, right? But all of us can only strive to figure out how do we come across the people we really love, and how do we come across the people that we want to influence and make a difference, and how we are wired in relation to the world is a fundamental first step in understanding a little bit about yourself. So let me narrate this with a quick instance. This is also covered in the book. There was this obstetrician called Ignaz Semmelweis, and he was working in a general hospital in Vienna in the 60s. And what started happening was there was the mortality rate in his ward was very high. And in the same hospital, there was another ward where it was run by midwives, and the mortality rate was much better. And
Hmm.
here he was a qualified obstetrician, and he didn't know what to do. He standardized the diet, laundry, birthing positions, but to no avail. Then it just so happened that he was called to another hospital for about 4 months. He goes over there, and in his absence, the mortality rate again started getting better in his own ward, and this was very flummoxing to him. In other parlance, work actually happens when the boss isn't around. So this was something similar to that, and he was determined to find out what happened. And to his chagrin, to his dismay, he found out the person who was responsible for the high mortality rate was himself.
Ah,
Because those days, surgeons used to operate on cadavers and live patients at the same time, and they would not disinfect their hands
okay.
at that time.
Okay.
So he was transferring germs from the cadaver to the live patient. If he had not come to this realization that he was the bottleneck, he was the problem, then he would have just gone about blaming everybody else except him. And most of us go through life in a very similar way when we think it's not me, the problem is with the world, the problem is
Yeah.
with the other person. Why should I spend? I'm perfect, I'm God's gift, right? The first understanding is not that you're wrong. I'm not saying you should start with the premise that you're wrong, but a healthy appreciation of who you are
Mm,
is a great first step to begin on this journey, on this lifelong journey of who are you.
mm, mm. I see. That's really a great perspective. It sounds very philosophical, but very practical too. So you need to really
Absolutely.
find out. Don't rule out yourself being the culprit or the root cause of the problem, right? And very very interesting. So my next question will be, when people engage you, right? I mean, being a CXO coach, all right, and also for helping them on mentoring and on all the leadership principles, there's one question that comes to my mind is like, how do they even know that they need to engage somebody or get guidance? First of all, where do they, somebody will tell them, hey, can you get some coach guidance, because we are going to launch a new product, maybe they've done this before, or they'll tell you how it all happens.
Um, so before we come to why somebody needs a coach, let me narrate a very amusing incident that happened with me about 7 years ago.
Sure.
Me and a friend of mine, who was also a coach, we were co-facilitating a session
Mm,
where we were training high potentials in an organization on incorporating coaching principles into their leadership style.
okay.
And at the end of the entire journey, my friend thought it would be a great idea to get the one of the leadership team, one of the members, to come and say a few words to the high potential gathering. And I remember he walked in and he said, "I don't know what's all the big thing about getting a coach. I'm a successful leader and I didn't
Mm,
have a coach, and I turned out all right." It was almost like somebody had sucked out the oxygen from the room, right? And everybody's like, "What just happened? A bomb went off," that kind of a thing. And I think my friend handled that really, really gracefully. He said, "Shiva, you're probably right. Not everybody needs a coach. Not every leader needs a coach. Just like we don't need somebody to tell us how to breathe. We all breathe. If we all know how to breathe, then why do people learn pranayama or go to art of learning or vipassana so that we can learn how to breathe better?
mm,
If we can learn how to breathe better, why should we not continually try to get better at leading ourselves and leading our teams? And maybe a coach could probably help.
mm,
So this is one end of the spectrum, where people say, "Hey, listen, I'm already there. I've set out to achieve this goal. I'm there. Why do I need a coach? Maybe it's time that I should coach somebody, right?"
mm,
So that's one end of the spectrum. But interestingly, what I've started noticing is we are moving into an age of abundance. We are moving into an age where, at least for corporate echelons, or at least for well-heeled professionals, material goals are no longer the driving force. I mean, there's only so much, what kind of a car you'll have, what kind of a house you'll have. there is a limit that you kind of reach, because you don't tick off all those boxes. Like I say, I've
Hmm.
traveled the world, I've seen the wall, I've got a T-shirt, been there, done that kind of a thing. Only when you start thinking, what else can I do? How can I influence somebody else's life positively? What's the mark I'm going to leave? Legacy is a very bandied about word. I don't really give too much credence to that. But the point is, like Mark Twain said, there are 2 days that are important in your life. Number one, the day you were born, and number two, the day you find out why you were born. And I fundamentally believe that we all have some reason for existence.
Hmm. Hmm.
And in our journey to find that meaning for our existence, wonderful things happen. And having a coach doesn't give you access to a lot of advice. A coach does not come and say, hey, listen, I'm so much more learned than you, so I'll pass on this information and this wisdom and this know how to you. It's like saying, blue pill in the morning, green pill in the afternoon, red pill in the afternoon, and off you go. You're all okay. The challenges that we work with in leadership are not like that. They're not quick fixes like that.
Hmm.
It's much more nuanced. It's much more detailed. And I keep quoting this to my coaches, right? Everybody has a different combination block. What works for me might not work for you. What works for you might not work for somebody else. Now, a great coach is somebody who is able to adapt and figure out what is the combination pattern for this person, so that he can become a better version of himself.
Hmm.
So, coming back to your question about how does somebody really know? One is you got to start asking yourself questions.
Okay.
Am I doing the best with what I have at my disposal? Am I being the best person possible? And you could turn this into, am I being the best father, the best son, best husband? And there is, believe you me, we are all work in progress. We can all get just that little bit better at most of the things, that the way we show up in the world. Number one, that. Number two, there will always be people who are willing to help you out by saying, hey, Jay, you're great at this. But you know what? There are some blind spots that you might not be aware of. If you spend some time and just fix that, just try to get a hang of that, you will emerge as a better professional. Now, why do we have to get better at leading our people? Now, in isolation, it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense unless and until you place it in the context of yourself in the organization and the organization itself. So one of the best ways a global CEO once told me was, Jay, I want to double my global revenue from this team in 3 years.
Hmm.
For me to achieve that, my team cannot play the same way they've been playing till now. It just makes very simple, idiot proof kind of logic. If you're going in a particular trajectory, if you have to go this way, the same behavior is not going to enable you to climb a steeper trajectory. It's just common sense. So, which means there has to be a period where you stop, rejuvenate yourself, reorient yourself, re energize yourself, and then move forward. And a coach comes in that critical point to increase alignment between organizational aspirations, individual aspirations, and matchmaking the two. So, you leave behind a slew of satisfied stakeholders.
Okay.
And my fond hope is that every leader that I coach on an individual basis, he goes back with some elements of the transformation that's happened with him, and
Hmm.
he imbues his team. So in that way, my long-term goal is to have a systemic contribution to organizational health and not a steroidal one-off kind of a case.
Okay. No, very, very good. Nice way you said that, because I remember saying about why do cars have brakes. It's like just to you brake so that you just check it, do the course correction, and then make sure you are in the right direction, and you fine tune, refine. It's like having a process and refine the process and understand where you failed and you go. I mean, that's just generally a thing that is safe for any organizational growth for maturity, right? So I think
Absolutely.
that's one thing. And the second thing that comes to my mind, Jay, is perspective. You think that you are doing all the right things, but still the organization is not going from point A to point B, right? From a revenue or cutting down cost and increasing productivity. So the thing is, the perspective changes, right? So it's always get an opinion about from outsiders, and then say, hey, it's a big milestone for my company. So am I doing the right thing? I think, like you said, I like the way you said that the checkbox has been ticked. Is there anything else that I'm not? Because it's like this, right? In quality assurance, people always say, hey, is this software development code is good? Oh yeah, it's all pass. How do you know? Because we have these scenarios. How many scenarios you have? 15. So based on the 15, it's pass. The question is, are there any other scenarios? We do not know. So we look at each other, and that's, to me, is where the key role you're all playing as coming with a broader view, a bird's eye view, and then say, hey, looks like there is a gap here. Maybe you're doing the right thing, maybe the organization is not, maybe the team is not. So beautiful. I mean, a lot of learnings. Fantastic. I mean, I got some of my learnings by reading through your book too, by the way. Okay, don't credit me if you're thinking about it.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Sri. Thank you.
And so it's good. And also, I like the way you said that, how one can be a better ones than themselves, meaning like how can you be a better you, right? For example, you're just refining constantly, and that's a really beautiful way of saying that. And also, I think you have quoted in the book in Rewire about the Albert Einstein's quote. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different results without any making any process change or anything, you're going to get the same results. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic, fantastic. I mean, I like it. And also the fact is asking for help. I think that's one thing. Even my mentor Rajesh Shetty always keeps saying that, you need to know when to ask help, whom to ask help. And it doesn't you should not feel bad about asking for help. And I think it's a great to have a coach like you. So good. So we got past that. So in quick summary for our listeners, so we talked about, like, why do you don't lose yourself. Okay. And then there are people who can help you, guide you, and it's always okay to get some help and get some executive coaching done. Okay, that's good. So the question here is, now it's all about innovation and entrepreneurship and creative minds. So one thing that I learned is about, there is something called creativity, and there is something called attitude. And then one more thing, and I want to ask you, that you are a very fitting person to ask that question, because you are a motivational speaker. So the third part is, you need to have the motivation to do something with your creative thinking and a right attitude. Can you put this together for us?
Um, okay, so most leaders who are at the particular level that I work with, uh, they've come to the table with two sets of strengths. One is what we call as character strength, and the other one is what we call as domain strength.
Okay.
Domain strengths are, what is your ticket to the table? Are you great at finance? Are you great at marketing? Are you great at production? Are you great at quality? So that is your ticket. That's your basic qualification for saying, hey, listen, I matter at the CXO table, so give me a seat. But what will enable you to move forward and succeed is increasingly what we call as character strength. So what is predominantly called soft skills are becoming hard skills right now the world over, for the simple reason that anything that can be outsourced to intelligent learning, machine learning, AI, and whatever, increasingly that's the way it's going to go. All the transactional stuff is going to go away. The human to human interface is where your character strengths come to play. What kind of a person are you? Are you a great team player? What's the experience you leave behind? Are you somebody that people will want to talk to and enlist your help, or are you a person who's so full of himself that nobody will seek your advice and nobody will make you feel as a great collaborator?
Yeah.
Are you great in articulating difficult concepts, difficult ideas? Do you have a healthy presence around you? Can you maintain your sense of confidence and poise when everything else around you is hitting the ceiling? So all these are elements where your leadership gets tested again and again and again and again. Now, we all fall into certain patterns on about how we handle these various bits of information that come our way, and that becomes our leadership brand. And that's how our stakeholders experiences, our customers experiences, our boss experiences it, and sometimes the board experiences, and sometimes the media, especially if you're having a regular conversation with the media. Now, there are, and let me try this quick one with you, right? I'm sure you're familiar with this. If I were to reach across and place an orange in the palm of your hand, if I ask you to squeeze it, what do you think you'll get on the palm of your hand?
Yeah, I'll get orange juice, right? Yeah, yeah.
You'll get orange juice, right?
Right.
So tomorrow you're at work, you're in office, and you're about to deliver a major presentation to your boss, and I magically manifest in front of you, and I place an orange in the palm of your hand. And if I ask you to squeeze, what do you think you're going to get?
Okay, same thing. There's not going to be any
Same
difference.
thing, right?
Hmm.
Whether we're at work or we're at play, when we get squeezed by an external stimulus, whatever is inside is what will come out. So this idea that we leave our persona office and away from office kind of a thing is a bit of a well, it's not right. It's not true. We carry our whole selves to work. We carry our whole selves to other relationships in our life. The core of it doesn't change. A little bit of the trappings might change, but the core of it doesn't change. And when I speak to my coaches, my contract with them is I hope and I pray that you leave the process as a better human being, as a better son, as a better father,
Mm.
apart from just being a better CEO. Because in my mind, they're all intermingled. That's why I call it the business of life. Which, like Richard Branson famously said, it's not work, it's not play, it's all life. It's all together in one beautiful, multicolored basket. And when I work with CXO coaches,
Mm.
there are some. Anyway, so sorry, I'm drifting off. What I wanted to say, and this was really important. I thought, Sri, was for a book that spoke about changing oneself. One of my first few chapters is about self love and
Right,
acceptance.
right.
It's very ironical, right? On
Mm.
one end, I've written an entire book about, you have to change, you have to get better and whatever. And
Right.
one of my first chapters is about accepting who you are and loving yourself for who you are. And believe you me, it was not, in my mind, it's not contradictory in that sense.
Yeah.
Um, Most leaders that I work with, you got to have high goals. You got to have high standards. I'm all with you on that. But along the way, please treat yourself nicely. Would you treat another person how unfairly you treat yourself? Would you whip yourself that bad? Would you criticize yourself that bad? Would you talk to yourself so low? The answer is you shouldn't, right? You know yourself, accept yourself, and really keep a checklist of keep a short list of stories that are really nice things that have happened to you and that are very unique to you as an individual. And every time you're hitting a low, every time you're doubting yourself, take a sneak peek at these stories, and that will help you cross over that puddle and say, you know what, I've had a good life. I've had some great experiences. I've met some wonderful people. I have some great conversations. And you know what? I can handle anything that comes my way.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
very important to have that conversation with yourself. So it's a tightrope balance between accepting and loving who you are and also pushing yourself. Not one at the cost of the other.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. I think the way you mentioned, you kind of touched on all the angles, the motivation, and which is your intention and to do execute, You might be a very knowledgeable person. You might have a lot of experience and things like that. And then on the attitude is how one you conduct yourself amongst your team, your organization. I think thanks for putting that into the right perspective. And in the process, Jay, you also mentioned about the understanding the context, and also you took um, pages from the book, because you had it as three sections in Rewire, and one is about understanding the context. That is the first thing, and which is basically about understanding the current state. It's like, doing an okay, what is the asset state here? Okay. Next thing is, what are the influencing factors? That is the next section about it. It helps you to identify your problems and things like that, which is a contributing factor for your current state. And the third one, I like the way you sectioned it out, which is reinventing, like basically, which is where your experience and expertise, that you're trying to give some examples and stuff. So I personally liked it when I was narrating it, to be honest. Again, it's not a secret. So, people, those of you who are listening, dear listeners, I had the opportunity to narrate this book for Audible. So, pretty much it's out there. So, you can check it out here. And it was a fabulous experience for me to learn from Coach, as if like he was just talking to me all the time. That's a thing. So, back to my question before I lose my thought is that the context. Can you touch on the context part of it? Because that's where most of us lose oneself. Because, oh my God, there is a problem happened, and we got to solve. So we don't even think long term. We don't even understand this. So can you touch on it from some of your experience with anything, any of the executives?
So instead of executives, I'll talk to you about an experience that I had when I was working briefly for an NGO
Okay.
in Bombay.
Okay.
I was working with kids of scavengers. It was
Okay.
an NGO which would have life lessons for these kids and ensure that they got a perspective of what they wanted to do, how they could get better at themselves, and stuff like that. And I found that experience very enriching for many reasons. There was one kid. There were brothers actually. This one kid was a drug addict, a
Mm,
low grade drug addict, which means in Bombay language they would refer to them as smacky. Somebody who would sniff glue and stuff like that.
mm,
And he would turn up for sessions, classes, but he was not very regular. His brother was extremely regular, bright, sparky, was studying really well, was working as a unit hand in some film company and so on.
mm,
And I was really puzzled about how both of them turned out to be so different. And I started asking them. I took both of them separately and I asked them, "Hey, listen, it's very interesting. How did you turn out the way you did?" And both of them gave me the same reply. Jay, you don't know my father. My father was a drug addict. He was a smacky. Now, the same environment, the same upbringing, one son went the way of his father, and the other son decided to go the other way around, saying that this is not the life that I want.
mm,
In a very similar way, we are all exposed to context in so many ways. The friends that we have, the material we consume, the media outlets we watch, the books we read, and the influences we surround ourselves with. Now, we think I'm a very self made man. No, I have original thoughts. Nobody put this thought in my head. That's like absolute rubbish. If you look at it, you're a beautiful combination of so many things that have happened to you in your life. In fact, one of my favorite questions when I ask my coaches is, I ask them, "What's your story?" Oh, they say, "I don't have a story. It's pretty much
mm,
regular." And I tell them, "What has happened along the way to make you the person you are today?"
mm,
And only when I put it in perspective like that, it sets them thinking, saying that, oh, wow, yeah, I was about to do engineering. Then I met this really great person, it's this thing, and he convinced me to pursue my art. And here I am, I'm a great photographer, I'm a great artist, I'm a great dancer, whatever it is, or vice versa. but it's an accumulation of all these things which we will call as context, life experiences that we've been through. The only summation that I have is be aware of the influences you consume. It's like this, right? I have a nutritionist, and the last 6 months, I'm becoming a lot more careful about the food that's entering into my body. My mindset is changing into food is medicine, and you got to be careful about the stuff that you're ingesting. In a similar way, when we're talking about the context on the as is state, we got to look at all the environmental stimuli and say, what is the stuff that I'm getting? Is it toxicity? Is it negativity? Is it aggression? Is it abrasive behavior? Is it all of that? Or am I getting better? Am I choosing better influence? So understanding the context is really, really important, and not thinking that, I'm above it all. I don't have external stimuli that connects to me deeply. That's we're all frail. We're all subjected to bombarding messages from everywhere.
Yeah. So I was saying, like, self-awareness on what is the influencing factors, why it's again, I like your philosophical tint everywhere. It's asking the question, who am I, where am I, why is it happening to me, what are the other contributing factors. It's really good. It's very, very nice way of putting it, Jay. In fact, that reminded me, it's again philosophical thing, you got me thinking here. You said about, two things, you know, in a cemetery. There is a bond date. There is a that died, right? Whatever the death date is given, and then when people's ambition is there should be something in between. People have to talk about you. Some key accomplishment, being a humanitarian, great humanitarian, be a leader, great mentor, great coach, and those kind of things are very fantastic way one can take their life and learn from others life lessons. So it's beautiful. So I like your anecdotes and some examples that you have given in that book. Okay, that's pretty good.
Thank you so much.
Good, sir. So now again, I just wanted to ask you a few questions about the how part. How did you think about writing this book? What was the motivating factor for you?
Um, I've always wanted to write a book for as long as I can remember, for the simple reason that I used to think that I read a lot. I'm an omnivore. I consume information of different shades, of different influences. If you look at my bookshelf, it's fairly. I would like to use the word eclectic. It has different sources of information, and I thought I can reasonably communicate well. So
Yeah.
I thought it should be interesting to put my thoughts in the form of a book. And like I've shared with you before, the first time I started writing, I felt like an imposter. Beads of sweat rolled down my forehead. And I felt like, what do I have to contribute to the world? Why should anybody pick up my book? Uh, is there anything original I'm saying? All these kind of thoughts started playing a loop. And then finally, I decided to write for somebody like me.
Uh-huh.
Now, I have a I have a healthy disdain for books that say self-help books. Read this and 10 steps and 8 things and 20 things and whatever. But I thought, hey, would there be a way of nudging somebody through stories, through personal accounts, in a way that is graceful? It doesn't say, okay, 20 things and then you're good. You'll have a great life or you can become a great career. And that kind of led me to write the book. It's loosely inspired by somebody that I admire a lot. His name is Clayton Christensen.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called How to Measure Your Life, and I found that really fascinating. He took organizational principles, innovation principles, and he put
Yeah.
them on to life and said, if the theory is good, it should hold the test wherever I apply it, and he applied it on life. And I took some leadership thoughts, some leadership ideas that I had, and I said, hey, if I juxtapose this on life, how would it look? And hence the question is how to be the leader of your own life. It's leadership and it's life, and the two are powerfully intertwined with one another.
Yeah, I was just typing the messaging here. So I like Professor Clay Christensen, because one of the things he always say, he said that was, people hire something to get the job done.
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Yes,
So
yes,
that means,
yes.
you need to make sure your customer is important, the customer experience is important, and it's serving a purpose. So the life is
Yeah,
like that, right? So you, as a father, as a leader, as a son, right, as a husband, right, and as a coach, as a sports person, and whatnot, right? So as an author, yeah, exactly. So it's like people hire to get the job done. So that means you gotta think about the customer focus in mind, and of course for that you need to understand the context, understand the pitfalls, understand all the three things that we talked about: creativity, attitude, motivation. Very nice. And being aware. Very good, nice way. So I wanted to share this, right, same time here. So Rewire, how to be the leader of your own life. So like it. Congratulations once again on your book. Okay, that's a nice journey. And then just wanted to also mention about the audiobook, and that was a great opportunity for me.
yay!
Thank you. That was a pleasure. That was a pleasure, and I really enjoyed that 6 hours of storytelling from you. It was a rainy day in Mumbai.
I'm so happy that you enjoyed it.
Hmm.
And yeah, the experience is just manifold now that it's narrated by your wonderful voice.
Thank you. No,
And I hope people will love it.
yeah, it's pretty good, sir. Thank you so much on that. And then I wanted to ask just two more questions, right? One thing is, in your life, who has been your inspiration for all your activities, right? You're an author, you're a speaker, you're a mentor, you have a man of multi talents. And also, I have one final question on your hobbies and interests. But before I get to that, yeah, who has been your inspiration?
So let me use this opportunity to tell you a story that I have not shared with you, Sri.
Sure.
Um, in the year 1958, cops were summoned to a segregated library in South Carolina. It was a whites only library, and they were there to escort a 9-year-old black boy from its premises. Eventually, time went by. This boy grew up. He went on to do his PhD at MIT
Uh-huh.
and became an astronaut at NASA.
Okay.
The library that denied him access today bears his name, the Dr. Ronald McNair Life History Center.
Mm.
And in the year 1981, another 9-year-old boy's life changed just a little bit, about 9,000 miles away. He was in a school, and his father had come there to pick him up and said, "Come on, let's go." And the kid didn't even know where he was going, and he just went with his father. And his dad took him to the Indian Institute of Science, into a huge auditorium. And this boy, in fact, he was still in his school uniform, and he started looking around. There were scientists, there were research scholars, there were members of the media. And he noticed that he happened to be the only kid among 1,200 to 1,500 people.
Yep.
And the entire crowd was there to listen to Dr. Ronald McNair before his voyage on the Challenger. The stories that the boy heard really inspired him. He didn't understand any of the space stuff, but he enjoyed Dr. McNair's personal story. And it was also a beautiful moment that he spent with his father, because he believed he understood his father really well, who thought that unconventional education, non-book education, was as important as academic education, which you get in school. And that 9-year-old boy was me.
Hmm.
You know, today my father isn't around anymore, and neither is Dr. Ronald McNair. He died when the Challenger made a re-entry into Earth's orbit. But the beauty of stories is this: long after the storytellers have left the stage, their stories still remain. So coming back to your inspiration, I think my father was a huge
Mm.
amount of inspiration in the way he didn't teach me. He kind of taught me how to think, how to not be fanatical about a particular way of thought and hold that to be the absolute truth. He
Mm-hmm.
taught dabbling around in different things is absolutely okay. Knowledge is knowledge. What you do with it is really important. And also his attitude to life. I still remember one of our houses. The title was on outside the house. They would put those names, right? The name was Vishwa Premi, and I
Uh-huh.
really took that to heart. Somebody who loves the world and who loves everybody in it. And he would always say, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, the world is a family.
Exactly.
We have more commonalities among people from different parts of the world than we have differences. And that realization hits me now when I'm about to touch 50 about how prescient he was and how much truth there was in that. Um, uh, we all want to get better. We want to provide better world for our kids. There are so many things that connect and bond us. And my father, yeah, in fact, the book is dedicated to my dad. He was a um, huge inflection point in my evolution in the way I thought. And even as a kid, he never would consider me as a kid. He would have adult-like conversations with me and encourage me to think.
Mm.
And that really helped me a lot.
Okay. Okay. No, definitely that's a good the bonding that you said. See, you are fondly remembering him and the good time. So that's the thing, and also bringing the family concept, right? That is about the role that you play. So you be the person when you play that role, and so that's where your focus and things like that, right? I mean, there will be distractions, like even like I'm distracted when I'm typing something. So yeah, you're right. So basically, be aware and you come back. So that's the thing. It's okay. It could happen. Good, sir. I have one question for you. Final question on your hobbies and interest. And very interestingly, you are a deep sea diver, and also you're a paraglider. So tell us about something interesting. You're a great storyteller. So tell us how you got into this, and with all these things put together, maybe one should be complementing the other, or you might be taking some key experiences from each of this.
Um, I've always gravitated towards newer stuff. The way I'm wired is I seek novelty. Novelty is a big part of what makes me tick. And somewhere along the line, I started pushing the envelope. So I've done theater, I've learned contemporary dance.
Okay.
I'm a certified deep sea diver. So when I say certified, I've done about 50 odd dives.
Okay.
And this is serious diving. You got to go through various processes and PADI certification and whatnot. I'm a certified paraglider, and what it gives back to me is the fact that there's so much to life. There's so
Mm,
much experience. There's so many new experiences. And in the process of doing all this, there's a lot you learn about yourself. I still remember when I started bungee jumping. The first time around, this was in Phuket, Thailand, and I told him, "Hey, listen, I'm okay with the height. Just push me." He didn't hesitate a second. He put the camera down and he pushed me from the top. I was strapped in. I finished the jump and I went back. Now, the second time around, I was diving off the world's highest bungee, which is at Macau, off
mm,
the Macau Tower.
okay.
And I asked the same thing from my instructor, was an Aussie guy. And I said, "Hey, Simon, I'm okay with the height. Just Can you just give me a little nudge?" He took 10 minutes to explain to me why he can't do that.
Mm,
He said, "This is your jump, mate.
exactly. Exactly.
You have to do this. This is not good karma when I do it. This is great stuff only when you do it." It just blew my mind. Look at the perspective difference, right? There was another person who said, "No problem, I'll nudge you." Another problem said, "This is all you. You have to take that jump. You have to take that plunge. only then is it fulfilling. And it's beautiful. I remember when I went skydiving in Brisbane in Australia. There was an 80-year-old man who was skydiving along with me. An 80-year-old man skydiving for the first time in his
Wow.
life. It was a birthday present from his wife. And who was he and what was his day job? He was a plumber.
Amazing.
He was a plumber, and his wife decided to give him the surprise. So that's when I realized that you age only mentally. You physically, your mind, your heart, you can allow it to age the way you want it to age.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So,
adventure sports have given a lot back to me.
I mean, you've been receptive. Your interest, your passion, and second thing is, it is you at least put in your best efforts, and that matters, right? You be aware of what's happening and you put in your best efforts so that you can course correct and get the more of out of oneself, which is very good, very good.
And keep learning, right? Keep opening up to different influences. It'll just make you better. It's take it and apply it in the right context. You'll just get better at it.
Okay, very nice. Thank you very much for that, Jay. Dear listeners, we are talking to Coach Jay Kumar Hariharan, and as you have seen, we have put in his website here, coachjaykumar.com, where you can find a lot of details about. He has got on a lot of papers and presentations, blog, and other things where one can find more details about the storytelling. CXO, the storyteller, make your ideas resonate. I love that reading. It's a free PDF there, which is on his website that you can check it out. And again, as a mentor coach who can guide you on leadership principles, and it was always fascinating to talk to Jay. So we'll get to more and more on future topics. So this one was. It's really a great milestone accomplishment, and congratulate Jay on his award-winning book Rewire, and that's something which to an extent it was a very eye opener for me personally. Okay, how to be the leader of your own life. And again, thanks for the opportunity for that I got to narrate this. And so that's I just wanted to share that also here as a information. All right. And again, this is brought to you by itsdiff Academy, itsdiff Entertainment, you can call. And you can check out our podcasting on Google Podcast, iTunes, Spotify, and you name it. You can search for itsdiff. Stands for It's Different News, Views, and Music, right from my Stanford University radio host days as a broadcaster. So continue the trend just as serving the community. So, Jay, wishing you many more books, many more coaching sessions and stuff. So, it has been a pleasure talking to you. This is Sri Srinivasa. On behalf of our fans, we wish you a great good luck and a great 2021 and beyond.
Thank you so much, Sri. As always, warmth and grace personified. Thank you so much for having me around and collaborating with me. It was an absolute blast.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And we need all your guidance and support. And I love the storytelling. So I need to pick that up. All right.
Anytime,
Okay.
anytime.
Thank you. Good luck then. Okay.
Bye
Yeah.
bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.